We're learning this Thursday morning hundreds of Israeli forces have carried out the deadliest raid in the West Bank since the war began. It comes amid brief pauses in fighting between Hamas and Israel for health officials to administer polio vaccines. Both parents in Gaza and families of hostages held by Hamas this morning, they are calling for those brief pauses to become a permanent ceasefire deal. Fox News national correspondent Jeff Paul reports on the latest from Tel Aviv, Israel.
They shout, calling for the release of the hostages, hoping Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hears their cries. This after 6 Hamas captives were killed in Gaza. Israel's army releasing this video, which it says shows the entrance to the tunnel where the hostages' bodies were found. But as crowds rally, one survivor says their pleas are being ignored.
Bibi Netanyahu killed the hostages. He doesn't even think about the hostages. They are being held in the worst conditions.
And Aviva Siegel would know. She and her husband Keith, an American Israeli, were kidnapped on October 7th. Aviva was freed in November as part of a previous ceasefire deal. Keith is still there.
It just breaks my heart to think about Keith lying there, just trying to figure out if he's going to die now or he's going to die tomorrow.
But Netanyahu says Israel's military pressure and presence is key.
I'll do everything to make sure that Keith and all the other hostages come back. I'm telling you that if we relieve the pressure, if we get out of the Philadelphia corridor, we're not going to get the hostages back.
The Philadelphia corridor, a strip of land between Egypt and Gaza, appears to be standing in the way of a ceasefire deal. Netanyahu says it's how Hamas smuggles weapons in. Hamas and Egypt say Israeli troops must leave.
And I say such a deal will kill us.
The White House, however, remains hopeful an agreement is on the horizon. For Aviva Siegel, a deal can't come soon enough. Her message to President Joe Biden?
I want him to wake up and understand that he needs to bring Keith home alive.
A senior Hamas official says they are ready to listen to a new ceasefire proposal, but haven't received one yet. They continue to blame Netanyahu for the deaths of the 6 hostages and say his actions will only lead to more captives dying. In Tel Aviv, Israel, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
Jeff, thank you so much. And staying on to discuss this breaking news alert, distinguished lecturer in Homeland Security and Terrorism, Ken Gray, thank you so much for staying on to discuss the latest going on in the Middle East, Ken.
Of course.
So we're learning, the Associated Press saying that this latest raid is the deadliest one since the war began back on October 7th. We know IDF continues their operation out there in the West Bank, and we have seen why if we look to this weekend where those hostages were found dead in those tunnels. Could you catch us up, please?
Sure. So in the Gaza Strip, the IDF was putting together a rescue operation. They had intelligence showing that that hostages may be being held in a tunnel there in the Gaza Strip. While they were going into the tunnel, they found the 6 hostages. They had been killed by Hamas so as to deny the IDF from the victory of rescuing these hostages. So Hamas killed these 6 hostages. It's not the IDF, it's not Netanyahu. It is Hamas that killed the hostages. And then on Monday, Hamas made a tactical error, threatening to kill additional hostages should Israel not agree to removing the requirement of maintaining a presence in the Philadelphia corridor in a ceasefire agreement. And so Hamas is threatening now to kill additional hostages, and it just shows that Hamas is a terrorist group. But right now in the Gaza Strip, there is a temporary pause going on to allow the polio vaccine to be administered throughout the Gaza Strip. Polio is appearing now inside the Gaza Strip, and so this much-needed vaccine is being passed along to the kids there in the Gaza Strip to try to keep this from spreading further. So as actions are on pause right now in the Gaza Strip, military actions are on pause in the Gaza Strip, the violence is now occurring over in the West Bank. We've been discussing the West Bank over a couple of days now, that activity in the West Bank seems to be increasing on a regular basis. The Israelis are being brought under fire, both with the use of roadside bombs and by sniper fire and IDF has been conducting operations to arrest potential terrorists there inside the West Bank to try to curtail some of this activity. And so the violence is spreading from the Gaza Strip over to the West Bank and may continue to do so. 3 months ago, the Palestinian Authority, which is the governing body for the West Bank, met with Hamas members in Beijing and signed an agreement. So this may very well be part of the agreement between the PA and Hamas to continue actions there in the West Bank.
Ken, thank you so much for that detailed update. We know at this hour, IDF, they are still doing this operation as some in their own community are calling for a ceasefire deal. I know IDF, they have said from the very beginning, they will not stop until they get all of those hostages home. Which would be a better operation for that to happen? Would it be these invasions that are happening, these operations in the West Bank, or would the ceasefire deal be the quickest way to get the remaining hostages in Hamas captivity?
So we don't know the answer to that question. The hope is that a ceasefire will be able to get all the hostages out of there. But nonetheless, this ceasefire that's being talked about has been being talked about for the last 4 months. And so, whether or not that will result with the release of the hostages, we have yet to see. Hamas has the hostages as a bargaining chip. The hostages will not be released unless it's in Sinwar's best interest. As long as he holds them, he has something to hold over the IDF and over Israel. If he were to release those hostages, then he has nothing to, as far as the bargaining chip goes, to fight against the IDF, to fight against Israel. I think he is holding the hostages with the hopes that the world will force Israel out of the Gaza Strip without him having to give up the hostages in the process until it is in his best interest to do so. But right now they are threatening to kill additional hostages if Israel continues mounting these rescue operations. So they really are threatening to shoot, to kill hostages if IDF continues to try to mount rescue operations. And so it's Hamas that is killing hostages, not Israel.
Literally using the hostages and other Palestinian people as human shields. It's just crazy and gives me chills to think about what they're doing. Ken Gray, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for dissecting this breaking news alert. Anything else you'd like to add before we let you go?
You know, the West Bank continues to heat up. There is some thought that the West Bank could very well be the next Gaza Strip. And so we should keep our eye on the West Bank there to see how that progresses.
Ken Gray, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Several topics we discussed this morning, and we definitely appreciate your expertise on both. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.